This is Dr. Vaishali, and I'm reading from the book Substance of Homeopathy, uh, National Classification of Drug and Plant Remedy, the chapter number 43, Proving of Cannabis Indica in California. In my seminar in May 1993 in San Francisco, California, I thought it would be a good idea to have a short remedy proving with the participant. For our first choice of the remedy to be proved, I asked what was the commonest things about the California, and I was told that it is a cannabis. I was told that a large number of the residents of California must have taken cannabis in some form or the other. I felt there must be something in the situation of the California and of America that has to do with the cannabis. We therefore decided to give the 30th potency of cannabis on the first day of the seminar to the voluntary for the proving. Only the organizer of the seminar and two or three other knew that what was the proving drug, and none of the other participants knew the drug they were proving. The next day, we started the seminar with a narration of the proving, and prover after prover got up and spoke about the almost the same thing. In fact, the room was charged with the atmosphere of the remedy, with the feeling of terror, cruelty, and feeling of isolation and abandonment, and so forth. And finally, the feeling of beauty and the peace. Each prover would get up excitedly and talk on, continuing from where the last prover had ended, and we had a beautiful picture, an idea of cannabis, and could understand why it is one of the commonest addiction in the USA and in the world. What was even more interesting was that one pregnant woman and another person who did not take the drug to prove, and probably who did not come in contact with the drug except that it was distributed to a person around, brought out some of the best cream of the proving. The pregnant woman told me that she never had these dreams before, and on the night of the proving, when all the person took the remedy, she too got a very vivid dream, which is unusual for her, and the dream which she described is one of the best description of the cannabis. How this happened is open to discussion, but I want to bring it to the attention to the reader. Cannabis has many aspects to it, and main one we can list are as follow. One is abandonment and forsaken feeling. Second is feeling of danger. The third is horror and cruelty, like a hell. The fourth is beauty and the peace, like a heaven. There are more features too, and feeling is that one is in a strange place, in a confusing place, which is described as a spiral staircase or a maze, and there are emotions of a fright, anger, and despair. The feeling of one who is abandoned, who is bullied and beaten up, a child without protector, a feeling of being lost, a feeling of things going out of control, and the need to find the control. The need is for this child to grow up fast in order to survive in the surrounding. Uh, from all this aspect, we can see that the cannabis has the situation like a lost, abandoned child in a danger, horrible, brutal world who does not have the protection of his parent, and is lost in this world, and he is frightened, sad, and angry, and also confused. He has the need to somehow stand up for himself and take control of the surrounding, but find this task very difficult. Out of this horror and cruelty, he needs to produce an illusion of an opposite state of beauty and peace so that he can survive. The other side is the one which is commonly known of cannabis. In the repertory, we have the rubrics delusion, he is in a hell, and delusion for second, he is. Now, prover 1. In the prover I1, the dream was that she is alone and is being chased by a big man, and since she running up and the spiral staircase and is trying to find protection in the literate class, as there is no help from the maths and science class. So basically, maths and science represent calculation, and advance and progress and mass confusion, rather than the care and the protection which are part of the culture. Examining cannabis in California in the context of his life situation in America, one can easily make the connection that the child is left unprotected very early in life, much before he has developed his own protective ability, and he is faced with the harsh, brutal world of science and maths, which offer absolutely no solution. They are just a maze, and he is being chased by a big bully. And in this situation, he finds himself isolated and in the danger, with no clarity of thoughts and not knowing where to go. This is the kind of situation that can call for the need to protect and oppose state. Example, delusion of peace and beauty, and that is why we see a lot of cannabis addiction in America, particularly in the California. Now, prover 2. Prover 2 described the whole things very vividly. Even though she had not taken the drug, it is worthwhile to note down her dream. I had a dream. I was in a foreign land and my husband was not present. He was there but not with me and my son. I go to pick up my son from the nursery. It was a place for children to meet other children and play. It wasn't a permanent situation. I felt temporary like a vacation. So I walk into the room and there is a group of children in semicircle. I am looking for my son to take him and go. I find him and notice he has this look of fright, anger, despair. There was a child, 12-year-old, maybe 13-year-old American, which beating him up in the dream. He means his son was 3 year old in the dream, and this bully was beating him up, and he had this terrible sad look on his face, but he wouldn't cry. I then interfered by reacting to the bully and chased him. I chased him to the door. It was a little down the stair that were spiral, then unrough a door, and we were running. I was chasing him through what seems to be a maze, and I finally reaches him and was beating him and bully up in the house on his bed. During the dream, I met my older brother, whom I was very close to, a child who seems to be very guardian or my protector when I was a child. He followed me into this house and watched or was present when I beat up this boy who was hurting my child. We then started to leave, and the boy's mother was in the house. The boys gave me a look, meaning not to tell her what happened here, and so I didn't, because I now felt I was wrong in hitting him. And we made a silent agreement. I don't tell his mother. Then there is no big deal about me creating dealing him up, beating him up, and he will show me and my brother the way back to my son through this maze. So we leave, and he started to take us back, and then he trick us, try to stab my brother, but stab himself in the confrontation with my brother, or maybe my brother stabbed him. I don't know, because I was ahead of them. I now started running. I lose my brother. I am lost in the maze. I finally get to this place, and it seems like a airport terminal. I ask direction to the nursery daycare, and I am now frantic to get there, and I feel like let my son down, left him behind, abandoned him for my own revenge. Someone gives me direction, I follow, but they are the opposite of the way I am to go. I learned later. I now feel panicky, but tried not to find control. Try to find control so I can find my son. I stop. I turn then and see little door. Enter into it and down the staircase, and I climb them quickly. Reach top door and unlock. Walk in walk in, and the TV is on. It is the very dark in the room. There is a man there. My son is the only child left, and he is on the couch, alone, sobbing. And I reach him and hold him, thank the man in the Spanish, gracias, and take my son out of there. I had a thought after this dream: how can such beautiful place produce such a horrible experience? Also, time seems to go fast than a slow. This was a dream. And now, proverb 5 had a dream of, I realized that my proverb 5 expressed it well when she say in her dream, I realize We, my son and I, are lost, but it is a beautiful and we are not worried. We just continue down the road and continue to say there is a peaceful sadness. Now, proverb 5. Now, proverb 7. A dream of the shiny metallic figure, an alien, a stranger figure, but I am not threatened by it. It is the lush environment of a lake, trees, blue sky, and she also complained of metallic taste in the mouth before falling asleep. Probably this proverb is referring to the mechanization, and everything is becoming a computerized and mechanical. Everything is becoming strange and alien and unnatural, and it is bringing to feeling of a threat. Next proverb 9. I felt the sense of presence in the room of a danger. I felt tightness and pounding in my head, especially about the temple. A pressure in the head, and within a minute it turns into a sense of lightness all over the body. Next, proverb 11, and typically describe a scene where she seek a ride with a young man who is very rich, a man who is stranger, but then she soon realized that he could be danger and take him to her old farm where she grew up, and the place of it is a place of the safety. The same prover later dream of a year earthquake, and possibly earthquake and tornado and mushroom where her small child was playing, and her dream are worth quoting. I was in a car with a young man who was very rich. The car was very nice, an old model T white, and we were driving somewhere. I wanted him for his money, and then I realized that he might be dangerous. So I directed him to my old farm where I grew up in a tennis. And when we got there to the farm's gate, and there were several other travelers visiting, I asked them if they had seen the creeks yet. They said no, and I told them they must see this creek, that they are a scared place and place to seek your vision or have a quiet time yourself. I took them there, and I remember the green luscious of the trees and meadows seemed so vivid, and I could smell the freshness. And there was a moment of danger feeling from the young man, but I can't remember it too clearly. Then last dream was I was look for my daughter's school. There were also this long road. I ended going up this huge mountain where there are two dirty roads ended together. Then I was in a little house high up on a mountain, and this is where my family and I live. I am worried that if an earthquake came, the house would fall down the hill, and my daughter was running around playing on the hills. You could see the ocean, and I was looking out at the ocean and saw a whirlwind that was like a tornado, but of a very small size. Its color was magnificent and bright blue. It gathered itself, then come towards us. I tried to shake up when it came over the house, but did not succeed. The house rattled and lifted slightly. Then another gathered over the ocean, and its color was dark, beautiful purple. It didn't even last coming towards our house. The third gathered, and only part of it rose into it and like top on the mushroom, and it was like a magnificent color slide. So and the mushroom lost its shape, then turned into a drop and dropped back into the sea, where it splashed magnificent color. And then I thought maybe I am on the psychedelic, and everything seems so. Oh, I don't know how to describe it. Only if you have been on the psychedelics, and you would understand how you experience. My daughter was playing naked. My husband would go to work and then come back. When he got home, he started making love to me through my clothes, which I thought was strange. Then he said enough of this and went upstairs. A friend of his was there and said, don't get pregnant whatever you do. And I said, don't worry, I am not planning to. And then I wanted to borrow money for some reason. My husband was upset because we needed the money for a well, and our house had no plumbing, and I was giving the money to my daughter and her friend to go shopping. Now, Proverb 13. Proverb 13 had again the dream of a male teacher harassing her and pursuing her to the bathroom and hitting her. She goes back to the classroom and starts screaming, "Please witness what this man is going to do me." And this man is now hitting her again in the front of the student. In the second part of the dream, the same man and she walk down a beautiful hillside and she is in the land where she grew up. Again and again, the theme of place the proverb grew up and security comes up. Now, proverb 14. A lot of dream of proverb like 14 concern encampment of the people against the government, and government force were shooting them down. Rebels and rebellion again. Rebels and rebellion, sorry. And again, there is a feeling here of trying to find safety. Proverb 14 dream of a pie-like circular building like Pentagon. Proverb 15 puts it very clearly in the ends when she says it is a common theme in the West when teenager is exposed too soon to all the danger of the world and he misses the security and safety of his house or home. So the child seeks warmth, security, and community, and often try to achieve this through these drugs. Proverb 17. Many provers reported a sensation of floating. As in Proverb 17, he also felt the anticipatory anxiety of having perform the part of the snowman and feeling very embarrassed from this. Another prover had the dream of side role in the television shows but is not able to do this well and spoil the whole show. These two indicate that the feeling of cannabis is the feeling of having to perform which one is not fully able to. Proverb 18 had a dream of resolving her problem, but the same proverb had a dream that a small mole on the daughter's chest appeared as a huge growth on her chest, the size of the grapefruit. And here the problem is seen as much bigger than it is actually in. And Proverb 21, two proverbs like Proverb 21 had a dream of the snakes as a threatening things, which then turn into something harmless. Proverb 22. Proverb 22 has a dream of spilling glass of water over a table and the hostess wanted to get him another one but he said no because he was sure that he would knock that one over too, and this dream indicate a lack of control. Then Proverb 23. The feeling of Proverb 23 is worth quoting. During my morning shower, I began to feel a great peace and felt that all the people who have given me trouble and all the people who have given me friends trouble should be thanked and blessed for forcing us to face our fear and bad tendency and inspire us to try and overcome them. And I thought of all the party fighting between the homeopaths who claim certain ideas and revelations and their own and get mad and hurt and angry. All this competitiveness to come out with the original material is also so silly that someone stole this concept from the another and does not give any claim, or when everybody is stealing their ideas from the Kant and Hahnemann, and ultimately all this knowledge comes from the holy of holies, from the God who choose freely without prejudice to give this information to the man. I thought all these quarrels and misunderstanding between the people is all part of our natural journey, and how beautiful it is because it is all part of the Creator's master plan anyway. And I thought of the beauty of the God. This gives a beautiful pictures of the worlds we have inherited, and the world of pettiness and quarrels, fighting and competitiveness which arise from the feeling of isolation. Each one of us, each one of for himself and each one against each other, and fight against in the community and feeling our togetherness, and this also part of the situation of the cannabis. Proverb 26. Proverb 26 who did not take the remedy, had a dream of the house in which she lived after college, where they all smoked cannabis. The dream concerned a large bull with a horn running towards her husband's back, ultimately tearing his skin. And Proverb 31 had a dream which are worth quoting here. And I dreamed that I was a prisoner. My captors were cruel and very clever and knew a lot about me. I was a kind of James Bond type. They were trying to break me psychologically, and there was something about a swimming pool and also an enclosure with an 8 foot height fence. They were incredibly strong, able to throw people bound onto the chairs over this fence. And I don't know why I was in this place, but I was innocent and they were evil. I was the main focus of their hatred, although I was there with some friends. And the dream ended with all of us, with innocent people going upstairs in the prison building to get some sleep, but we never knew when the enemy would attack, and so it would be a sleepless night. I remember telling everyone to open the window but close the curtain. There was their feeling of total uncertainty and horror. We had to be on guard every second and never knew when and how we would be attacked. And just before we closed the door to the bedroom, we saw some people coming up the stair. They were carrying something metallic under each of their arms, and it was my first reaction was that this must be their weapon. And it turns out that these were a member of an orchestra, and what I had seen were the French horn, musical instrument. The terror of being trapped in the place surrounded by enemy, never knew what is going to happen next. And this dream of Proverb 31 described very graphically the feeling of terror, of being trapped and isolated in the hands of the brutal enemy. This is the worst feeling of cannabis, the most and intense. And Proverb 35, the feeling of being disassociated from the body comes up in the last part of the Proverb 35. This is also expressed as a feeling of floating. Her dream was, I took the remedy before I went to sleep. The first dream I remember was of a driving up the coast to Mendocino country, where a significant proportion of the cannabis in the state is grown. I ran out of the gas and had to push the truck. I had a feeling that something bad was going to happen. It was beautiful all around, and the sun was bright, and the hills, the ocean. Then I saw the black, black storm clouds approaching us. The girl I was with saw it too, and I decided we must drop ourselves together so that after the storm we would still be together. I knew the storm would be very bad and that we would not be able to endure it, and we might get lost in the storm. We tied ourselves together and walked ahead on into the storm. Here, two people are trapped in the presence of the danger and come together to face the storm. Now, conclusion. In conclusion, I might say that it is hardly surprising that cannabis is being indicated more and more, not only in California but in the rest of the world, since the breaking of families and breaking of marriage is increases, and thus the feeling of isolation and abandonment. The children are forced to grow up very soon to face the horrible and cruel world where each one is for himself and where there is a no answer. The mechanical world and computer do not give any answer, and old values of literature and music are all disappearing quite fast. The person seeks peace, seeks unity, and seeks love, and he gets this through the addiction of cannabis indica. The feeling of cannabis is the feeling of being incapable to face up the hostile world. It is a psychotic remedy and is known for its use in the gonorrhea and is also the cancer miasm remedy. It should be used more often in the practice.